Alright, welcome back to Bmutha Reviews, everybody. And today you can see I've got no statue here beside me, and that can only mean one thing. Yes, today, finally, we're going to do the room tour. Alright everyone, I have been a collector of something or other for pretty much my entire life, but since 2010, when I attended San Diego Comic-Con, it's been all about statues, and that was back in the days when you could just go online and get a ticket and go whenever you felt like it. And so my wife and I went, and we happened to go by the sideshow booth, and I gotta tell you, with statues, seeing is believing. I mean, I had seen them online before, and you never really thought that they could be this cool, but let me tell you, when you see them in person, they are that cool. So, you know, there's been a lot of statues come through my collection in the years since then. I tried to sit down and think about how many have I had over those years, and I'll finally agree with my wife on one thing when it comes to statues. It's been too damn many. But today on display I have a little over 60 statues from 12 different companies, and I got a couple kits in there as well. So I'm just going to jump behind the camera. I'm going to walk you through the whole collection. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the tour. Alright, so the tour starts at the top of my stairs because all my stuff is in my basement, but I got a little bit of a gallery here to show you on the way down. This is my one and only Stan Lee signature here. I got that when he came to town a few years ago. And we've got an Adi Granov print of Daredevil 600. I've got a couple Mondo prints here. We've got one from Upper Deck. Here, that's an Alex Maleev print. We'll have more from him later on. My Tokyo Skyline Lego set I got for my kids. We got a Jock print here. This is, I believe, the cover to Daredevil Reborn number 3. And we'll keep going, coming down around the corner. And we've got Alex Ross print from Sideshow. There's a bit of a tight space, so I apologize I can't get you a good look at most of this stuff, but straight ahead is my main collection room, but we're not going to go in there just yet. I got a few more things to show off. This is a print from an artist by the name of Dre13 that I got signed by Charlie Cox when he was in town a few years ago, and probably my favorite print in my collection here. This is another one from Mondo. And we're just going to hang right into my home theater room. So I do have a few statues there. But first, I think my passport might be taken away if I didn't show off some hockey gear here. Got a Sid Crosby signed 2010 Olympic jersey. But that's not what you guys are here to see. You're here to see the statues. And we're going to start off here with my small DC collection next. Alright, so as promised, the statues. And we're starting off with my small DC collection. And we got Wonder Woman here from XM Studios. That's their 1/6 scale Rebirth line. And we got the Flash, and he's from the same lineup, the Rebirth line from XM Studios. The one that always grabs my attention over here is the Joker. This is from Tweeterhead. You know, I was kind of resigned to the fact that I wasn't going to collect DC because I just didn't have the room for it, as you'll see as we move on. I just didn't have the room for a 1/4 DC collection, but this guy came out in 1/6 scale and you know, really renewed my interest. I love this statue. It's one of my favorite DC pieces anywhere by anybody, and you know, that coupled with this XM line has kind of got my interest back into DC. So I think that's where I'm going with DC, is 1/6 scale. Got some Green Lanterns coming, got a Batman coming, so this little area will expand. Now that said, you know, these guys are probably in a bit of a placeholder position. because once the Iron Studios Daredevil comes out, I'm probably going to put him right there. I'm going to take this piece off the wall and move it somewhere else, and I'm going to replace it with that right there, which is the original concept art for the Iron Studios Daredevil. So I think that's going to look cool right here. But anyways, this is my DC collection as it is today. The Joker, Wonder Woman, the Flash, and we're going to move on and look at some Marvel Knights. Alright, so kicking off the Marvel Knights area, we've got Elektra from Sideshow Collectibles. This is a statue done by Will Harbottle, and I think they just nailed this one. I love it. Elektra, one of my favorite characters from the Daredevil universe for sure. And speaking of Daredevil, we've got him right here. This is also from Sideshow. It's a piece from Daniel Bell. And you know, it's not my favorite Daredevil suit design. It is kind of an original design. It's okay, but the statue itself is fantastic. I mean, Daniel Bell, whenever his name is attached to a project, I'm interested because he just does amazing work. It's a fantastic piece overall. And beside him, we got Moon Knight from XM Studios, and this is a piece by Caleb Nefson. He's a fantastic artist. I mean, you can just feel the intensity in this piece. And you know, when people say they like sculpted capes, you know, this is what I think of. I mean, it's just a fantastic cape. It's got all kinds of wrinkles and folds and dynamic flow to it. Just a great piece there from Caleb in XM Studios. All right, so beside Moon Knight, we've got the Punisher. This is from Iron Studios, sculpted by Tiago Rios. Also does some amazing work, and he also is the guy that did the new Daredevil for Iron Studios, so they will have a similar look. They'll probably look pretty good together. But this is just, it's probably my favorite piece from Iron Studios. I know their Hawkman is glorious, but this one is my personal favorite. It's just exactly what I was looking for from a Punisher piece. You know, he's not overblown with the muscles and things. He looks like, you know, a badass special ops military type, and that's what I want out of my Punisher. I think they did a fantastic job with this piece right here. All right, so moving on, beside the Punisher, we've got maybe one of my favorite statues ever. This is the Spirit of Vengeance, Ghost Rider from XM Studios. And you know, I think as statue collectors, we probably all have a list of characters that we want in our collection, we want to see made someday. And when I first got into this, I mean, Ghost Rider was right at the top of my list. He's just such an awesome looking character. And XM pulled this off amazingly. Look at the detail here. I mean, this might be one of, or if not, the most technical statue made by XM. I mean, just the engineering aspects behind this, breaking it down, getting it shipped and packed and out to collectors in one piece is pretty amazing. Just a fantastic piece. And if that's not their greatest technical achievement, then the next statue on display just might be. All right, so here we have probably the biggest statue in my collection. And to be honest, it doesn't really fit any of the themes that I have, but I mean, this statue is so good, I had to make an exception for it. Hulkbuster Iron Man from XM Studios. This one done by the Kacharik brothers. It's just a massive, massive statue. Just I can't think of any other company that would take this one on. I mean, not that they couldn't do it, but I don't think there's anything quite like this else on the market, other than maybe Ghost Rider, as you see beside here. But I mean, to have Iron Man coming out of the cockpit of the Hulkbuster, it's just such a cool idea, and they pulled it off so well. This piece does have some light up features, but it doesn't currently have batteries in it, so I'm not going to turn them on for you, but I mean, this is just a fantastic statue. So he doesn't really fit the Marvel Knights theme, but I keep him out here anyways because I don't have anywhere else to put them. He's just too big. But there you have it. There's a Hulkbuster from XM Studios. You saw all my Marvel Knights and my DC collection here. This is out in my kind of my home theater area. And now we're going to move on to the main room, the main collection room. So let's go do that. Alright, so right at the bottom of the PAX unit here, we've got the XM Studios Star-Lord, which I'm using the unmasked head, which is surprising to me. I wasn't planning to use it, but I think it looks better than the... Well, I like the mask, but the mask doesn't look great with the lights off, so that's why I'm using this one here. It's a pretty cool piece from Alvaro Ribeiro, XM Studios. Alright, so next up we've got some Spider-Verse pieces. Spider-Man 2099 from Prime 1 Studio. Beside him we've got Spider-Gwen from XM Studios. That's a piece you don't hear or see a lot about, but I think turned out pretty good. Below them we've got from Skeleton Crew, which don't make a lot of statues, but they made some from one of my favorite comic book series, Chew, a series of mini busts. We've got, of course, Tony Chew right there. We got Mason Savoy there in the back. And there's two variants of Poyo. That was the regular right there, and then this one, which came out a few years later, sort of a cyborg version. And then beside them here, I've got the Electro mask from the XM Studios piece, which we'll see later. I picked that up when I went to Singapore. That is the original sort of prototype mask from the statue. Alright, at the top here we've got a couple more Spider-Man pieces. These are a couple kits actually, sculpted by Troy McDevitt. Green Goblin, one of my favorite Spidey villains. So we got two different paint jobs. This one here is by Ed Bradley, and that's kind of more the original comic book colors. And then this one here by Mike Nahara, who did more of a modern take on it. And out front we've got some Diamond Select mini busts, Green Goblin and Spidey. Alright, so on the other side of the PAX here, we've got a new piece from PCS Collectibles. It's kicked off their WWE line. One of my favorite wrestlers ever, the Ultimate Warrior. I can't think of a better guy to kick off that line with, at least for me personally. And this one turned out really well. I mean, it was a lot of skepticism there because they needed to really nail that skin texture and that realism. I think they did a pretty good job. So I've got the Rock on order as well, and I'm looking forward to that piece after seeing this one. Alright, so next up we've got probably the piece I'd say put XM Studios on the map. This is the Magneto on Throne, and I'm lucky to have owned this since day one, so I didn't pay all the extra prices for this guy. This is a statue that causes a lot of arguments online, I'll be honest. But I think it turned out great. I'm happy to have it in my collection. And the Magneto on Throne, I think this really was the start of kind of a new era for statues. It just sort of kicked off this new ultra detailed era that I'd say we're still in. There you have it, Magneto on Throne from XM Studios. Alright, so my last cube in the packs here is more Spidey stuff. And we've got the Spider-Man comic from Sideshow Collectibles. A lot of people think is one of the best Spider-Man out there. I like it a lot. I don't know if I'm quite ready to say it's the best one out there, but I do love it. I've had this statue since it first came out. I got it direct from Sideshow, and it's probably the oldest statue, or not the oldest, but at least the longest serving in my collection. Is this Spider-Man right here. Beside him, we've got the Symbiote premium format. That is my all-time favorite comic book costume, so it's a must-have for me. Some kind of Symbiote Spider-Man in my collection. And I do like that one a lot. And down here, I just want to give a shout out to Gentle Giant because they make some awesome mini busts that really don't get a lot of attention. This Daredevil here is probably one of the better Daredevil sculpts out there. Get a close look at it there. And there's only 170 of those. It's probably my most rare licensed piece. And then we've got Ghost Rider, which just came out earlier this year. Venom. Is maybe my favorite Venom sculpt out of any statue. If that came in a 1/4 scale body, full body, I'd be all over it. Love that Venom. And then here's the Spider-Man Mark IV. This is from kind of the more modern Spidey comics where he had Parker Industries. And he was kind of the new Iron Man almost, where he had all this technology and global companies at his disposal. So this is one of his more high-tech suits. There you go, some Gentle Giant mini busts and some Spider-Man comic premium format. So moving on to my main Spider-Man collection here, and this is the area you see behind me in all my videos and most of my photos and things. We'll start things off with Carnage. That's a piece from Caleb Nefson. And then we got Mysterio, which is one of my favorite villains. I love Mysterio. I've always liked that dome head, even though it looks kind of silly. I believe that one's done by Martin Augusta, one of his earlier pieces for XM. We've got another Caleb Nefson piece here. It's a Scorpion. Just a fantastic statue. Pretty much on all levels. This one just turned out fantastic. I love it. And then from Daniel Bell, you saw the mask earlier. Here's the full statue. This is also an XM Studios statue, Electro. I think it's one of the best in the Spider-Man line for sure. And we've got Venom. And this Venom comes with 3 portraits, but I've never displayed either of the other 2. It's always been that one from day one. That's why I bought the statue right there. Kind of a classic looking Venom. And then we've got Spider-Man himself. Came out earlier this year. He made us wait for that guy. All the villains came out first. We've got Spider-Man. And then over here we've got the Lizard. I mean, this is a beast of a statue. It's really, really big. You see it kind of overhangs the shelf there a little bit. It's maybe deceptively big. And this one has a couple different portraits as well. I'm showing the classic one at the moment. do switch that one up from time to time. But there you have it. That is my Spider-Man collection, the one you see behind me in all the videos. And we'll move on to my Besta unit just to the left here. So actually, just before we move on to that Besta unit, I just want to show you a couple pieces I got hanging on the wall here. This is an original cover of Aquaman 14. You can see the comic there to the right, and the original artwork here on the left by Ivan Hayes. And when I bought that, I was given the opportunity to get a portrait sketch of my choosing. So of course I chose none other than Daredevil. That's by Ivan Hayes. And you have a couple of original pieces there hanging on the wall. So let's now move on, more statues. Alright, so right at the bottom of the PAX unit here, just to the left of my Spider-Man collection, I've got the 1/3 scale Judge Dredd from Pop Culture Shock. And this statue went up for pre-order before the new ownership and before they switched over all their orders to Sideshow. And I had a chance to get out of this one. I mean, I was a little nervous when all that was happening. But I'm glad I stayed with it because I think it's one of the best Dredd collectibles around. Judge Dredd, I mean, another oddball type character for my collection. Doesn't really fit the theme that I have going for most of it, but I've just always liked Judge Dredd. He's got a cool helmet, cool costume. He's a cool character, so I'm happy to have that one. Now, right above Dredd, we've got the Crow. Now, this is a kit by Marin. I had this one painted up by John Allred. Now, to my knowledge, there are no licensed Crow statues out there. There's this kit, and I believe there's another kit that was done. And that's it. So I'm happy to have this one. I was a big fan of the movie growing up. I'd say it's a classic by now. And so I'm happy to have a Crow in my collection. Now, right at the top of this unit, this is the statue that sort of greets you as you walk into the room. It's almost looking you right in the eye, and did that on purpose because this is one of my all-time favorite statues. I just absolutely love it. This is the Galactus Legendary Scale Bust from Sideshow Collectibles. This statue was sold out before I got into statue collecting, and so I was kind of immediately on the hunt for it. It took me a few years to find it for a good price, but I love it. Easily within my top 5 ever. Probably my favorite Sideshow statue, Galactus Maquette. And I've got here beside him this Bowen Watcher mini bust, which I think really pairs well with it. It kind of sets up that whole Fantastic Four 48, with the Watcher on the cover and the first appearance of Silver Surfer and Galactus. So that's one of my favorite statues right there. So now we're going to move on to my Daredevil collection. We'll start things off here on the Daredevil side with the XM Daredevil, and this one's got custom bandana portrait on there. Here's the original portrait for it, which I do like, but I always felt it was a little bit small for the statue, and this one here I think is more appropriately sized. Beside him here we've got a custom Daredevil, And I like this one because Daredevil is a street hero. And this is one of the only ones that actually has him down on the street. And it's just kind of a no-nonsense, no frills on the suit. You know, it's just classic Daredevil standing there on the street ready to smash some heads, and I like that about that one. I think it needs a bit of a repaint. Someday I'd like to get it a repaint. It's not the best paint job, but the sculpt and the casting is really good on that one. And then we've got the Kingpin from Bowen Designs. There's not a lot of Kingpin statues out there. I wasn't a huge fan of the XM one, so this is the one for me. I think this is my favorite Kingpin out there from Bowen. Just did a fantastic job. It's just, that's the quintessential Kingpin pose right there, I think. And we've got another one from Bowen. Bullseye, another character that needs some more love. Someone's got to make a Bullseye. More Bowen here, mini bust. From my friend Charles. And then we have one of my favorite Daredevil statues. I think one of the best executed Daredevil statues around. It's from Hard Hero. I just love it. It's an old piece and it still stands up today. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but I mean, doing a back handspring off of a building ledge, something not like that. We got from Kotobukiya, fine art piece there. Bowen full size on gargoyle, which I think is the best Bowen Daredevil. It's my favorite anyways. In the back there, the life-size bust. Love that bust. Funny thing about that bust is it probably weighs about as much as that Kotobukiya right there in the front, but you can't tell how much it weighs on the shelf. I love it. It looks awesome. Now, before we move on to these yellow pieces, I mentioned Alex Maleev earlier. Got a couple original paintings here on the wall. He's probably my favorite Daredevil artist. So I picked this one up from New York Comic Con. Thanks to my friend Charles, he twisted my arm, and then I commissioned this one later on. I wanted the red and the yellow to go together. And then we've got the variant Hard Hero, the yellow costume variant. There, we got another Bowen, full size, yellow costume. Gentle Giant animated piece there. And we've got the Sideshow premium format, the first one. I know a lot of people don't like this piece, but I'll tell you what, it's got a fantastic base. This is very symbolic for the character, and the suit is fantastic. If you could take that suit and put it on any of the other Daredevil statues, I think you'd have something pretty magical there. I love that suit. We got from Iron Studios, it's part of their 1/10 line. Now, I just found out the other day that this statue was sculpted by Thiago Rios, who did the Punisher from Iron Studios that you saw earlier. Also doing their upcoming 1/4 scale Daredevil. And we've got the Punisher from Gentle Giant, part of the animated line. And then we've got the Comiket from Sideshow. Now, I actually owned that statue when it first came out and sold it. And then I bought a new one back. And this one has had the face repainted. And then parts of the base were repainted as well. That's not it for Daredevil. I got a few more pieces here. Got from Diamond Select. This is part of their premiere series based on season 2 from the Netflix series. The fight scene down that stairwell, which is just fantastic. That statue turned out all right. And we got from Kotobukiya, from the Ben Affleck movie, which I know a lot of people don't like that movie, but it's got an awesome fight scene in it at the bar, and I thought he had a pretty cool suit, so happy to have that one. And another Netflix piece here. It's another mini bust from Gentle Giant. Now, not Daredevil related, I've got the Ghost Rider, Cosmic Ghost Rider from Kotobukiya, part of their Artifacts Premier line. That statue does have a light up feature. And it's a pretty nice new line from Kotobukiya. So there you have it, guys. That's my Daredevil collection. I do have a couple more Daredevils boxed up, but that's what's on display right now. And we're going to move on to the X-Men next. Alright, so we got my X-Men collection here. Before we move on and talk about these bigger statues on the top shelf here, I want to just mention this guy down here from Royal Selangor. You can see it's a smaller piece. It fits nicely in this cube here of my shelf. But these statues, you know, they're made of pewter. They're really a nice, classy look, I think. So I'm really happy to have this one here, the Magneto. They've got an X-Men line happening. They got some Captain America, Spider-Man, Iron Man. They've got a few characters. So I would say if they have a character that you like or a piece that you like, I would highly recommend them. They're really nice, high quality pieces. There you go, Magneto from Royal Selangor. Now let's move on to the big boys up top. All right, so kicking off the X-Men collection here, we got the Juggernaut from Sideshow, the sculpt from Will Harbottle. Did an absolute fantastic job. I saw this at San Diego Comic-Con last summer, and I'm telling you, that was a costly event for me because I got quite a few statues on this shelf that I saw for the first time at that event. So that's the Juggernaut. And then we got beside him another Will Harbottle piece, the Magneto maquette from Sideshow. And you know what, this one took me a couple times of seeing it before I really kind of took to it. But I gotta say, I think it's one of the more underrated Magnetos out there. I really like this one. How he's floating in the air here. I think it's got one of the best fabric capes around. Just a great pose for Magneto overall. And beside him, we've got the reigning best large statue in our comic division of the annual statue awards. This is Dark Phoenix by Martin Augusta and XM Studios. I think a deserving winner. It's a fantastic piece, and it's one of the most important characters in X-Men history is the Phoenix, the Dark Phoenix, so I think you gotta have one or the other in your collection. So I'm really happy to have that one. Beside her, we've got Wolverine from XM Studios in my favorite brown costume. And this statue, I mean, even despite not having metal claws, is it's really, I love it. I love the brown costume, and I love the statue. So I would put that, maybe inside my top 5. And I don't display the swords. He does have some swords that you can put in the base there. I don't display those because I feel like they're gonna fall out. It's an accident waiting to happen. I just leave them off. Now, beside Wolverine, we got the Nightcrawler Comiquette from Sideshow Collectibles. Now, this is technically a 1/5 scale statue, but I think he's got a big head. So I keep him up on this pedestal here. I think if you can keep his head kind of in line with the other characters, it helps him look a little bit more appropriately sized. So I think he fits in well. And it's the only licensed Nightcrawler out there, or to my knowledge, so until we get a new one, it's the best we got. But I would definitely not say no to a new one, even though I do like that one. We got from Sideshow again, Jean Grey, stunning statue. Another one I got because I saw at the San Diego in New York last year by Mark Newman. And I got to give a shout out to the Good Guy Store once again for helping out with that one and the review on that one. Check out the Good Guy Store on Instagram. All right, now beside Jean, we've got another Will Harbottle piece from Sideshow. We got the Rogue Maquette. I mean, this statue just turned out fantastic. I love how she's flying through the air. Great portrait. Fantastic piece. Then we've got Deadpool. This is the first premium format of Deadpool from Sideshow. Still my favorite. And what I like about this Deadpool is, it's got the gag bits with the chicken and, on the gun, it's got, it's kind of a cartoony looking gun. It's got some words on there, but it still looks like a badass to me. I love this costume, that silver Y-shaped harness there. That's sort of the costume from the Cable and Deadpool series, which is one of my favorites. Yeah, I still love this Deadpool. It's still, for me, my favorite. And then finally, last piece in the tour, and actually the last piece I've added to my collection, or most recent, that's Cable from Sideshow Collectibles. Cable premium format by Martin Canali. And it's just a fantastic piece right there. So that wraps it up, guys. That's every piece I have on display right now in 2020. Okay, so there you have it, guys. There is the Bmutha collection in 2020. I'm sure it's going to change many more times over the coming years. But this statue collecting hobby has been really good to me. I mean, not only do I have all this stuff that I love of the characters I've grown to love over my entire life, but I've got the chance to meet a lot of great people, some of my closest friends locally and also on the other side of the planet. I've got the chance to travel, San Diego, New York, Singapore, Tokyo. I mean, these are places that I probably would never have gone if it wasn't for this hobby. So it's been very good to me. I hope you guys enjoy the hobby as much as I do. It's been a great 10 years, and here's to another 10 years, hopefully, of good collecting. So again, hopefully you guys enjoyed the tour. Stay tuned to the channel because we're going to have more reviews coming up throughout the year. We'll talk to you guys soon.